It's time to accelerate. Hey friends, this is Andy. Welcome to episode 573 of Accelerate, the sales podcast of record. Joining me on the show today is Kayvon, the self-proclaimed one-call closer. That's right, Kayvon, just one name, like a Brazilian soccer player. In this episode, we're going to talk about this idea of the one-call close, what it really means, and perhaps most importantly, what it doesn't mean. And this may surprise you a little bit. We're also going to get into some of the most common mistakes that Kayvon sees that sales reps make when they're on the phone. In fact, we're going to talk about his top 4 most common mistakes that reps make. In addition, we're also going to touch on how Kayvon has harnessed his ADD to help propel his sales career. So if you'd like to see the summary notes for this episode, go to andypaul.com/573. Now, I've been talking the last couple weeks about a new report I just produced. It's based on the input of over 300 leading entrepreneurs, seasoned executives, sales leaders, people I've interviewed right here on Accelerate. And this report is all about what you can do to amp up and accelerate your sales right now. Now, we're all in sales. We have this obligation to always be open to learning something new. And there are a lot of new ideas in this report for you to take away. So it's free. Go to accelerate.fm/accelerate to get your copy right now. I have also been hinting in the last few weeks that we're going to make some changes to our program schedule. It's really in response to listener comments. Most common comments we get about the show are A, we love it, B, just too many episodes to listen to catch up, to keep up with. So perhaps I'm a slow learner. It's only taken me 2 years to get around to this thought that we need to change things up a little bit. So starting next Monday, you're going to be able to listen to new episodes of Accelerate 3 days a week instead of 5. We're going to be out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday's still going to be usual Frontline Friday episodes with my co-host, Bridget Gleason, and give you a chance to catch up a little bit on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So make sure you come back, check us out. Also, the second anniversary of Accelerate is next Monday. Over 1 million people have listened to the show, hundreds of great episodes. So I'm really anxious to see what your favorite episode has been. Who's been your favorite guest? And if you need to sort of review the list of episodes, you can go to my website, andypaul.com, click on the podcast button. You get a drop-down menu, second option, give you a listing of all of the shows that we've done so far. And we would like to hear from you. Which one has been your favorite? So if you go to andypaul.com, you can leave us a quick message about that. On the lower right-hand side of the homepage, you'll find a red button that will let you send us an audio message. So do it now. And I'll send a signed copy of my book, my best-selling book, Amp Up Your Sales, to everyone who leaves us a message about their favorite episode. So make sure you don't forget to include your physical mailing address when you send us the message. Finally, before we get to the interview, I just want to remind you that we want to hear your questions about sales and sales management. What are the challenges you're facing? If there's a specific question that I can help you with or that Bridget could help you with, make sure you send it to us. So you send that question to me at andy@andypaul.com. And each week, I'll choose one of those questions submitted from the previous week to answer on the Friday conversation with Bridget. And the winner, the person who submitted the question that we answer, will win a free half-hour coaching call with me. That's a $250 value. So don't delay. You'll make sure you submit those today. Okay, let's jump into the interview with Kayvon. Kayvon, welcome to Accelerate.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
Well, good. Gosh, I wish everybody were so excited to be here. So we start the show with a standard question I ask all my guests. And this one is, what, in your mind, what's the single biggest challenge facing sales reps today?
I think the biggest challenge facing sales reps today for sure is the fact that the customer now, or the prospect, is they have the power now. Back in the day, the salesperson had the power because of the lack of knowledge that the customer had. But because obviously you have the internet and we have such access to so much information that the power is now in the consumer's hands. So as a sales rep, it's not about selling the features. It's not about selling the benefits. It's about being able to literally create that relationship with the prospect where the prospect trusts you. Because at the end of the day, people do business with people they like, plain and simple.
Okay. I mean, yeah, and some people expand upon that. Know, like, and trust. But we can get into that. So before we jump into that, so you go by just one name, like a Brazilian soccer player. So tell us about that.
I go by Kayvon. The media calls me the one call closer, and the reason I go by Kayvon is my last name's it's a very difficult long last name, and I want to leave a presence in this, and not only with my customers, but an imprint in this world. And I figured Kayvon is a very unique name, and people can remember that, and people will always remember Kayvon as the one call closer.
All right. So what is the last name?
The last name is it's Fatemizadeh.
And sounds Iranian?
That's a Persian last name. That's
Persian
correct.
last name. Okay. Very interesting. So how many letters in that last name?
That's 12 letters.
12 letters. Okay.
Yeah. So that's it's a little long.
A little long. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Now you say that you have ADD, ADHD as something I was reading about you. So
yes.
how have you harnessed this to help you?
Yeah, so growing up at the early age of when I was in grade 1, early age of basically 6, I was labeled with ADD, ADHD, LD. They basically said I was never going to succeed in life, succeed through school. By the time I was 19, I was in university. The special resource teacher told me to quit and go get a factory job.
Why? Because your grades are bad, or?
Oh, my grades were. Not only my grades were horrible. I was a ADD, ADHD kind of child. I didn't. The school system didn't serve me in any which way. And then, so not only do they put me in a classroom where they want to make me sit for 8 hours. When I would act up or act out because I literally couldn't sit there, they would penalize me more. Instead of giving me what I needed to say, hey, go out and go for a run, they would put me in a corner and isolate me and left me there to be ridiculed, bullied. I will never forget the looks on the teachers' faces, the parents' faces of disgust, of embarrassment. It was a very awful feeling and an awful time. However, no matter whatever happened, how bad things got, I always knew that there was something special inside of me, and I had to figure that out. And for me, it took almost 30 years to really step out and to own the fact that I have ADD, I have ADHD, and this is actually a gift, and it's a strength, not a weakness. So when I decided to stop going along and being pushed by all the pressures of have to be school and have to work in corporate and you have to be this, and I started to be pulled by my passions, my life changed. My ability to learn, my ability to ask the right questions completely changed because I grew the confidence in myself to know, hey, just because you do it this way, which I call it the square way, a square box, I'm not a square. And I don't put me in a box because I'll never succeed in a box. And once I gave myself the permission to say that that's okay, and for me to realize that I'm an outlaw, ADD, ADHD, entrepreneurs, 50% of entrepreneurs have ADD, ADHD. It's what makes us great. And when you can learn how to harness it and turn it into your strength and match that with your passion, you become unstoppable.
So are you familiar with Peter Shankman?
I'm not familiar with Peter Shankman.
Okay, so Peter Shankman has been a guest on the show. He's a very famous speaker, entrepreneur, has a podcast called Faster Than Normal. And it's all about embracing the concept that ADD or ADHD is a gift. And
it is, yes.
You should check it out. And
I should. I definitely will check it out. And
he's got a lot of great, reach out to Peter. He'd be a good connection for you. So here, as we network on the show, we're helping people at all times. We're here to serve, as Kayvon said. So I guess then it stands to reason. So if you're harnessing your ADD, ADHD without sounding facetious, that you would gravitate toward a one-call close because perhaps of your attention deficit.
Yeah, about that. The one-call closer system is a methodology that I've created with 19 years of sales experience, as well as with some sales gurus and mentors, and we created a system where it's unmatched. I've never seen this before. We need to understand that old traditional sales techniques do not work when it comes to high ticket selling, and that's where I serve. That's the clients I work with is more high ticket sales. So anything that's $5,000 and above, and traditional sales techniques just simply don't work.
Well, Well, let's I'm gonna guide you through that. So when you talk about the price range that you sell, now are you selling primarily to consumers or are you selling to businesses?
Well, I know I sell to consumers for B2B. So coaches, consultants, service providers, thought leaders hire the one call closer system. They hire Kayvon and my team, and we close their high ticket offers over the phone within one call, using a very unique methodology and a sales process that we show them, so that when the customer or the prospect gets on the phone with us, we have the ability to close them within the 30, 45-minute call.
So, all right, let's start with saying, okay, what are you doing different than what was traditional that doesn't work? And why? Why doesn't it work?
Well, I'll put it this way: the common mistakes most salespeople make when selling over the phone or closing over the phone is they act like a typical salesperson. So they act very excited. They ask for the sale way too early or way too late. They're not listening. So part of the sales philosophy that I use is it's 80% of the customers talking, 20% the sales or the closer speaking. And of that 20%, we know what's very important is asking the right questions. Speaking way too much, you're either selling the features or the benefits, or you're trying to justify your value. Things like saying, "Hey, how are ya? How's your day? Things are going well." That does not work when you're trying to sell a high ticket offer. For low ticket stuff, you can use all that Grant Cardone, the hard close, the Ben Franklin close, all that stuff. But when you're trying to get someone to separate from a pain that they're in, and they need to spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in a half an hour so that you can provide them a solution, you cannot act like a traditional salesperson. You cannot be all hypey. You cannot have high energy. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand. Yeah. So how do you reconcile the positioning of the one call closer? Seems a little, for a lot of people listening, I say, well, that seems pretty antithetical to the idea of service.
Yes, I love that. So for me, the question is, how can you say you care about service and then call yourself the one call closer? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, we do not take on any project unless the thought leader, the service provider, the coach or the consultant is an expert in their field and is providing a solution that actually, and let me say this again, that actually helps someone in their life. Now, for me, I have three main questions I ask myself before I even get into business with someone. First, would I buy the product myself? Second, would I charge double for that product and still feel comfortable selling it, knowing that it's going to change someone's life? And three, would I sell it to my mother? And if I can answer yes in those three questions, I will do business with them, as well as they have to be an expert, they have to be proven, and I have to see the results that this change people's lives. Because of what I do and because of the psychology I use to get people from leaving their conscious mind and get into their subconscious so they can make a decision not based on fear, not based on anxiety or based on lack of confidence, but they can make an empowering decision for their future so that we can serve them in a way that they've never been served before. That is why I have the one call closer system. That is why I show my coaches, the consultants, the people I work with, how to guide their prospects through a sales funnel, a sales journey, so that when they get on the call with me, it's not about me speaking about the product or the features. If I'm speaking about how great the product or the features is, I'm not doing my job. I'm not going to make a sale. I'm not going to make the close. And the close isn't about me and making my commission, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I make enough money. I don't need to close someone. What I enjoy doing is offering them a solution to a problem that they have, or getting people motivated to take in another step in their life, taking them to a point where they're comfortable, to that point of uncomfortability, where they can actually start growing in ways they never thought were possible. That is where I'm all about. That is what I'm all about, and that is where I live, in that kind of realm.
Okay. So okay, that added some context. So the one call closer is not, hey, you're calling someone cold. These are people that have gone through part of the buying journey. They've been in the thought leaders, consultants funnel. And so, they're expecting a call.
They are, absolutely. Part of what I do is I will not get on a phone with somebody unless they've gone exactly through that buyer journey. They've gone through a sales funnel. So they've either gone through a webinar, or they've heard some audio, or they've gone through a video, or they've already spoken to someone, and then they get to me. Because I don't, when you're talking about closing and selling, those are very, very distinctive things. And a lot of people confuse the two. When you're selling, you see, this world is filled with salespeople. It's littered with bodies of people who know how to sell, but very few actually know how to close.
Why do you think that's the case?
Because a lot of salespeople don't understand that there's a sell and that there's a close. The selling is talking about the features, is creating the relationship, is creating the rapport, is things like saying, I'll get back to you. When you say, I'll get back to you, you're not closing. The only time a close happens that you can call yourself a close is when you get past what we call the critical exchange point. And the critical exchange point is where there's a transfer of something. So there's a transfer of service, of value. I take from the prospect then I give to them at that critical exchange. So I get the signature, I get the payment. That is a closer. That's what I do. And that's what I said. If I'm selling, meaning I have to tell you about the features, I have to tell you about products, I have to tell you how great this is going to be, I have to sell the thought leader or the expert, that's not what I do. I leave that up for the salespeople. I do the closing. I get the payment, I get it done.
Yeah, I find this interesting because, one of the stereotypes that persists of salespeople, and this is something that just comes up, right? When you call yourself the one-call closer, people are going to, that's the first thing that's going to come to mind is one of these stereotypes about sales, which many of us fight against, right? But, I mean, at least in the States, and I presume it's similar in Canada as well, is it reminds like of a car salesman. You go in to buy a car, and somebody will be the seller, and then they hand you off to the finance manager, who's the quote unquote closer, which, at least based on people I've spoken with and my own experiences, is usually not not a great experience, right? I mean, people don't like that handoff because suddenly then the pressure starts to build. Is that different when you're selling to people?
It's completely different. That you just talked about the traditional sales techniques. And you talk about traditional salesperson, and again, that's not what we do. And now I know in the States, it's really the States is really known for the hardcore close, like the very buy now. That's not what I do. If I have to again sell the person to the close, then I'm not doing my job. I position the thought leader and position what we do in a way that the prospect is actually selling them. I'll put it this way. At the end of the conversation, I'm not thanking them. If I'm thanking them, I've done a horrible job. I don't thank my prospects. I congratulate them and say, I look forward to working with you. They are thanking me for giving them an opportunity to change their lives. Sure. Again, I only work with, thought leaders, experts, service providers that offer, I really want this ingrained so people understand this, that offer a solution that actually changes someone's problem. I do not sell products or services that just cost money and do nothing for that person. That's not what I do.
Sure. But I mean, let's talk about because you teach other people to do this, and not everybody, I think, is probably in the same situation you are to have the same certainty about the value of what it is that they're closing someone to do. So to walk through your process, and it makes sense in the sense that, we're seeing increased specialization in sales roles across the board, right? More and more the people that are appointment setters, people that are sellers, in your terminology, and people that are closers. So when you're engaging with someone, and not with your client, but when you're someone that you're trying to close a deal with, so typically, are they expecting the call or not?
Yes, 100%.
So the call is scheduled.
So I don't do cold calling. Cold calling again is part of the sales process.
Okay, so the call is scheduled.
So the call is scheduled. They know they have said, I want to speak with somebody because I believe that this product or this service can help me. They get on the phone with me. Mm-hmm. They already know who the thought leader is. They already know what the product is. They've already seen it.
So how do you open that conversation?
In what way? In the conversation itself?
Yeah. Yeah. When you,
Well,
you know,
I have my steps that I go through, and the first step is what I would call the introduction, is setting the stage. So I get on the phone, and right away, again, it's not, hey, how are you? How you doing? Let me sell you something. Traditional sales. I use a very, very stern tonality, whoever the product is. So it would be, hello, this is X office. Following up on your application call. Is this correct? Then they speak. And then setting the stage is I first ask them, out of curiosity, why did you set up a call today? Why is it important for you right now? Then I say, okay, I'm going to ask you a few questions. You're welcome to ask along the way. And at the end, I'll show you what we have going on, and then we'll see if it's the right fit for you. How does that sound?
So typically, what's the response you get at that point?
Yeah, sounds great. Now, if someone says no, well, what do you mean? They go, no, I don't want questions. I don't want to open. I go, okay, well, then this is probably not the right program for you. Because if I don't know what you need, how can I serve you best? Just because you think you need this product, it might not be the product you need. Now, I reject a lot of people because I'll tell you why. A, you never want someone that has buyer's remorse. You never want a bad apple in a group, especially if there's a group setting. Doesn't matter if it's online. You never want a bad apple, so it's not worth the sale.
Right.
And B, people who are not willing to be open on the phone are probably not willing to be open with change. And if they're not open to change, they're not going to get the results they need from the product.
Well, so that raises an interesting question that hadn't really occurred to me before. But let's say you're selling something for a thought leader, and part inherent to that is the fact that the buyer has to trust and have trust in the thought leader, right? So
100%. They got to trust, and they got to know the thought leader. It is not my job as a closer to do that. Again, that's where that becomes a selling process. I'm not a seller. It's not called the one call selling system. It's called the one call closer system.
Yeah, I understand. So wouldn't they want to have that conversation with, because you talk about building trust, which is absolutely true. You need to be able to do that to get someone to pay you money. Why wouldn't the thought leader want to have that conversation with the buyer at that point in time? And why are they delegating it to you?
Because you got to create that credibility, and you got to create that authority. If the thought leader is that easy accessible, then the buyer is not going to be motivated. You see, the buyer needs to be either motivated, there needs to be a need, there needs to be some urgency, or there needs to be some passion for them to make a move. So I know I deal with some thought leaders that when the prospect books a call, he sends an email right away and says, this is probably not for you. You don't seem like the person that's right for this fit. And we test that prospect to see how motivated they are. If they say, oh, okay, we don't want those type of people. We don't want them. See, I'll tell you, how do I explain this? And it comes off a little arrogant, but I don't mean this with arrogance. I really mean this with professionalism. I've realized when I started my sales career and I started my coaching business is I was trying to help the average people become winners. And I realized that that's a very long, slippery slope to go down. Average people will always stay average. You might get those same one or two of those people that are going to go from being average to being in the top 1%. What I've changed my business around to is I help winners win more. And I know when I'm speaking to a winner because I can hear it in their voice, you can hear it in their tonality, and you can feel it in their passion. So when I'm speaking to a potential prospect on behalf of the thought leader, they want to get close to that thought leader because they know that thought leader, the knowledge they have, the program they have will change their life. And I am basically the gatekeeper from them to that thought leader. You don't get to the thought leader unless you go through me. And it's about how we can separate the people we want in the group and the people we don't want in a group. This isn't a Tony Robbins thing where 10,000 people are allowed to come in. That's not what I do. I leave that up to Tony Robbins. Let Tony Robbins change the 80% of the world. I'm going to work with the 20% of the world. I'm going to work with the people who are already winning and they just want to win more. And they understand the value of investment. They understand the value of investing into physical, personal, spiritual, financial, into the growth of yourself so you can get better. You can get faster, you can get quicker, you can grow more in life.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. No, so I'm thinking about people, let's say, that run mastermind groups. Yeah, thought leaders run mastermind groups. Mm-hmm. And I know several that do. And I was just trying to think, well, maybe one of them would outsource the closing, but for the others, they thought, and they told me, I mean, hey, this is an integral part of what I do. This is how I close, because they get that final level of trust in me. And I'm just not saying this is right or wrong either way. I'm just trying to sort of work through it in my mind as we talk. What you're doing is sort of saying, well, hey, let's create some scarcity by saying that, look, they're just too busy to take this call.
The reality is, sorry to cut you off, is not that they're too busy, that they're too busy with quotations. No, that they're in their high income skill, and their high income skill is either to coach, is to lead, not to be closing on the phone. If the thought leader was spending all day closing on the phone, how is he helping people go to the next level?
That's a good point. Valid point.
Right. Yep. So I think that we got to think bigger here. I'm not helping these people that have time to be on the phones. The people I'm helping, they have an X amount of time to help their current community, to help the people that are in the program. If they're on the phone, they're not doing the number one thing they should be doing. And we know this as entrepreneurs. Everybody should know this. Is there's only 1 to 2 or max 3 skills and strengths that you have as an individual. And you don't go work. See, a lot of people think that you should go master your weaknesses. No, because if you go try mastering your weaknesses, at the end of the day, you're just going to have a shitload more of weaknesses. What you're supposed to do is honor and go master your one high income skill. So for me, my high income skill once was selling. Now I've turned it to a higher income skill, which is now actually closing a $25,000 ticket for a 4-day event in less than 30 minutes. That's my high income skill. That's not the coach's high income skill. So he shouldn't. So I would say whoever says that, the coach that's saying that, great. I love what they're trying to achieve. And they're trying to achieve that community, and they're trying to achieve that trust. But if that coach was at a certain level, they simply do not have the time or the energy to be sitting and speaking to 20 people a day. It's next to impossible when you're wanting to grow a business. It goes back to the fundamentals. You're either working in your business or you're working on your business.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Okay. So how'd you come around to, originating this method?
The one call closer?
Yeah.
Through mentorship. Again, through my 19 years of selling, I brought in some sales experts, and we looked at what's happening, what works, what doesn't work, how the market's changing, and we created the one call closer system.
Well, but what'd you see that was missing? So what was the impetus to say, hey, sales is just broken, closing is just broken, we could do it better? What was driving you?
It was what drives us is the lack of results we were getting. So again, you always have to, as a salesperson, as a business owner, if you're going out and you're not getting the results you want, you have 2 options. You can continue to go down that road, what you're doing, and expecting a different result, which we know that's insanity, or we can stop, readjust. And through readjustment, we figured out what works and what doesn't work.
So what were you selling at the time?
The same coaching, consulting, high ticket stuff. Right. And we realize, so a lot of people out there, you'll see they have the script, and the
dreaded script.
The dreaded script?
Yeah. I mean, most reps are making horrible mistakes with their scripts. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So again, we're talking 2 different, if we're talking about sales reps, these are people who are going out and calling on people, it's a complete different conversation than what I got going on here.
Sure.
I have 10 years of being a sales, actually, more than that, 10 years of being a sales rep. My last career job, I was the number 1 sales rep for the largest pharmaceutical company. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about how do you get sales? It's about building relationships. It's not about closing. If you're a sales rep and it's a long cycle, you got to be a relationship builder. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. People do business with people they like. In this case, people are doing business with people they like. People want to do business with a thought leader. And to get to the thought leader, you got to have the close. The close is who I am. And again, I don't want people to think the close is just about selling people into a product that they don't need. I only work, and I said it again, I only work with thought leaders, experts who actually can provide a service in people's lives. So let me give you an example. I can't say who it is. Sure. I'm under an NDA, but right now I'm working for a thought leader. He's charging $20,000 for a 4-day event. Mm-hmm. Before you even get there, before you got travel, hotel, it could cost anywhere up to $25,000 to $30,000, depending on where you're coming in from the country.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Why do I get people to go get a loan to come to this event? Why I tell people, hey, sometimes you need bad credit to get good credit. You need to go do the one thing that you don't want to do in order to have the one thing you want, is because I know without a doubt, and I make it very clear, that if you go to this event and you work with passion and you work and listen to what is going on and understand the why, when you walk out of the event, you get an actual business up and running, an online business already up and running. In fact, the expert gives back $2,000 and puts it into online budget as the spend to start generating leads and traffic right away at the event. And there, not only do you get a business, you get the most important thing is you get a transformation as an entrepreneur. And I tell people this is I can give you the exact roadmap to success, but if you're still operating as a $5,000 earner, a month earner, you'll never ever get to a 20, a 30, a 40K earner. We need to first go on the inside if we want to change the outside, because all the results you're getting in life, whether it's your relationships with your customers, with your business, with your sales, is a direct reflection of what's going on the inside. So if you want the outside to change, you have to change the inside. And at this event, it's a full transformational entrepreneurial event where you leave with a business, a tangible business. And anyone that goes to that event, on average, is making anywhere between 20 to 30K a month. So for me, that's life-changing for people who are making 5K a month, and they just don't have that mentorship. They haven't changed their paradigm because they're living in a world of scarcity. They're living in a world with average people doing average things, walking, talking, and acting like average. And I know that, and I say that with passion because that's how I lived for 30 years. And I realized that if I was ever going to go after my dream, and if I was ever going to go after what I wanted and what I desired, that I needed to give myself the permission to walk through that door alone. Give yourself the permission to leave your current situation, because chances are, if you're making $5,000 a month, look around you. Everyone else around you is probably making $5,000 a month. And I always say this, when you're a millionaire, if you want to make $1 million, you need to hang out with $1 million. You want to make $10 million, you can't be hanging out with people who are making $1 million. You got to be hanging out with people who are making 10, 15 million. Make sense?
Oh yeah, got it. Perfect.
So these are the people I work with, and these are the results these people get. Now, I only pick up 2 or 3 contracts on a yearly basis as I'm very committed to them, and I make sure I'm very diligent on who I work with.
And what sort of team do you have?
Right now, we have a 5-person team growing very quickly because I have a lot of people calling and a lot of people wanting us to take on their projects. And I simply, right now, will not take on any project unless I know I can fulfill it.
Got it.
To me, right now, it's not about trying to take on everyone's project so we can make money here. To me, is taking on the right projects so I can start leaving a legacy and creating something that is bigger than me, bigger than the one call closer system, and is the way that I can give back to people who are looking for something bigger, who are looking for a chance to change their lives.
Okay, got it. Well, let's end on that note. So we're out of time here, but Kayvon, thanks for being on the show. Tell people how they can connect with you and learn more about what you do.
Yes, if you want to learn more about what I do, it's very simple. You can go to my website, which is kayvon.com. It's KAYVON.com. And from there, you can get all the access you need to me.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you very much for being on the show. And friends, thank you for spending this time with me today. Make sure you come back again tomorrow for another great episode of Accelerate. So thanks again for joining me. Until next time, this is Andy Paul. Good selling, everyone.